You want to go downstairs? Do you? You want to go downstairs? Hi everybody, Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records. Just chilling late night with Chester chewing on a bone over here beside me, hanging out in the basement, and we thought we would do James Griffiths challenge, and he's got what he's calling the 10 album link challenge, which is kind of a variation on the 6 degrees of separation. He wants us to take an album and link an album to that album and so on 10 times, and by the time we get to the 10th album we should be able to come back to the first album with that 10th album. So I'll do my best. I always like to talk about what's playing in the background. Brave New World from Steve Miller Band. Nice album. I like the inside of it. Cover's pretty plain on the front and the back though. A lot of wear and tear, but you don't play the cover. Don't know what year this one came out. I think it's pre-73 or 4. It's maybe 72, 71, but I might be way off. Anyway, just got this album a while back and finally got it cleaned up, put it on, and it actually plays very well. So I'm very pleased with that. It's not an album I've ever heard by Steve Miller Band. Okay, doesn't have anything to do with the challenge, however, though. So I'll get started with the challenge. Maria Muldaur, her self-titled album. Don't you just love that album? I mean, this is one of my favorite albums. I love the cover. There she is in the floppy hat, riding on a magic carpet. And it shows all the musicians playing on this recording on the back, and on the inside a few of them are here as well. So I got a lot to choose from here. So who do I choose? I'm going to go with a very hippie-ish looking young Mr. David Grisman from New York City. David Grisman, the great mandolin player. And this album is from 1973. And David Grisman around 73, 74, 75, he was playing in another band called Old and in the Way. And of course, if you're a Deadhead, you know this one, Old and in the Way. It's a great cover there, cartoon of the members there. This was a side band for Jerry Garcia. It included Jerry Garcia, Peter Rowan, who used to play with Bill Monroe, who used to play with the Rowan brothers, the Rowans, C-Train, and a lot of stuff on his own. And John Kahn is on the bass, the upright bass. Of course, David Grisman is playing the mandolin. And the gentleman here playing the fiddle, Mr. Vassar Clements. Vassar Clements played with all kinds of folks, including Bill Monroe, and he also had his own band. And there's the Vassar Clements band. He loved to mix it up with jazz, swing, bluegrass, country, blues. He did it all. He was not confined to any one sound. And cool back of that album too, isn't it? Like that. Okay, Vassar Clements band. Okay, so we've gone. Maria Muldoon has David Grisman on her album. David Grisman had a band called Old and in the Way, which included Vassar Clements. We've got Vassar Clements. Vassar Clements did a lot of session work, including on this album with Mike Aldridge. This album is called Blues and Bluegrass. And Mike Aldridge was the dobro player. There's Vassar right there. It's the dobro player in the Seldom Seen, which is a band I just love. You hear me talking about Seldom Seen a lot. Okay, and he has a lot of guests on this album. David Bromberg's on here, Lowell George, Dole Lawson, John Starling, Ricky Skaggs, but the one that that we're going to use to link this album is Miss Linda Ronstadt. Linda Ronstadt, and this is Simple Dreams. I used this album when we did one of those little challenges to show album cover with someone in underwear or lingerie. So that was the best I could do on that. Good album. Lots of tunes by Warren Zevon. Lots of J.D. Souders on this. Lots of great guest performers. But the link from this album is the fact that she does a Rolling Stones song on here. Okay, so from Linda Ronstadt, she does a Rolling Stones song. So we go to the Rolling Stones, and let's do Let It Bleed. All right, there's Rolling Stones, that iconic cover there. For some reason, there are a bunch of these albums out there. I think I've got 3 copies of this. Of course, they're usually trashed because people played them to death. Let It Bleed, of course, on London Records. And there's a track on here called Country Honk. And if you'll look there under, he also does Love in Black. They do Love in Vain, the Robert Johnson song. And I think they give the wrong credit on the album to begin with. Give it to somebody else. It's actually Robert Johnson. But Country Honk features the fiddling of not Vassar Clements, but Byron Berline. And Byron Berline was from Kansas originally. And he moved to Los Angeles, and he was a fiddler. And he ended up doing a lot of session work, especially in the 70s. But he kind of got his start when he went to see a band called the Dillards and jammed with them after a show. Found that out from just another fat guy with a beard talking about music, Headley, he's cool, man. He's got some great videos. Check his channel out. But he was the one talking about this. He brought his fiddle to one of their shows and ended up jamming with them after the show, and they started doing things together. And the next Dillard album was actually the Dillards with Byron Berline fiddle, picking and fiddling. It's called. Really good album. And so there's a young Byron Berline. Okay, and so he played on Let It Bleed, and then we see Byron Berline there with the Dillards. All right, okay, so one of the Dillards is Douglas Dillard. There's Rodney and Douglas Dillard in the Dillards. And guess what? Douglas Dillard plays on the Monkees album. Okay. This one, of course, is Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. And he's not shown on here, of course. This is one of those albums where the Monkees, they'd always had the Wrecking Crew playing with them, doing the music part. And they fought for some artistic control, got a chance to play. So they provide most of the instrumentation on here. But Douglas Dillard, or Doug Dillard, plays the banjo on here on the Monkees. Okay, so Doug Dillard was in a band called the Dillards, of course. I already showed you that. But he's also in a band called Dillard, Hartford, Dillard. And where you can see it there. And it featured Doug and Rodney Dillard and John Hartford. That will be John Hartford in the middle there, the 2 brothers on each side. And this is a really good album here. This is on Flying Fish. And on this Flying Fish album, of course, Doug's playing the banjo. Rodney Dillard's playing the guitars and dobro. And John Hartford's playing the fiddle and the banjo. And they have another guitarist for the album, and it's Amos Garrett. Amos Garrett. And Amos Garrett was the guitarist in a band called Great Speckled Bird out of Canada, which was basically let's see if I can pull it out here. Basically the backing band for Ian and Sylvia. And then they went on and did their own albums. So Amos Garrett in Great Speckled Bird, Ian and Sylvia, the Canadian folk duo, their band. Okay, and guess what? He also appears, and there he is at the bottom on the other side from David Grisman. He plays on Maria Muldoon's album that we started this with. So there is the 10 album link challenge. I hope I did that right. I believe so. It's not like anybody's going to come penalize me if I didn't, right? Okay, so there we go. Everybody take care. Remember, be safe out there. Be kind to your neighbors because we're all neighbors.